Recording in progress. नित याद करो मन से शिव को, नित याद करो मन से शिव को, नित याद करो मन से शिव को।
तूने प्यार से जो पाला, तूने प्यार से जो पाला, शब्दों में गाए किस तरह तेरी पालना का बाबा, तेरी पालना का बाबा। संकल्प सास तुमने बच्चों पे है लुटाए, उपमा तुम्हारी बाबा हम तो कहीं न पाए। हमें खुद सा है बनाया, हमें खुद सा है बनाया, उसको भुलाए किस तरह। तेरी पालना का बाबा, तेरी पालना का बाबा।
Om Shanti. So, welcome back. And this session will be in English. अगर किसी को हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन चाहिए तो अव्यक्ति परिवार में जुड़ सकते हैं, या हमारे पास हेडसेट भी है किसी को अगर हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन चाहिए तो। थैंक यू।
Om Shanti. How many of you know Manda Patel? Okay, almost everybody. So it is a gift to have Manda here with us. I'm going to ask her a few questions, but if you want to ask her some questions too, that's okay. So I will see if we can have some time at the end for you to ask her some questions. I think our theme today is belonging and responsibility. Is that right? Yeah, trusteeship, aka responsibility. So, and I'm going to encourage Manda to tell some stories, not just give us straight answers, but really tell us some stories and bring us into the yagya as she has experienced it. She had a really big blessing in that she had the continual attention of Dadi Janki for decades. And the thing about Manda is she really takes advantage of things when they're offered. So she took good advantage, and who she is now is to some degree the result of the way that Dadi mentored her and loved her and cared for her. In fact, I remember when Dadi was about to leave the body, she said to Manda that she regretted that she wasn't going to be around to look after her and support her. It was one of the sweetest things I think I heard at that time. So, Manda, let's start with the beginning. Briefly tell us a story about your early Brahmin life. What is it that gave you a feeling of belonging in those early days? What do you think it is that gives us this experience now? Brother Reynolds?
Yep, it's on now. It's okay, it's on now. Thank you, Judy, for that introduction. It's not that Dadi said to me she wasn't going to be around. She was saying to me she wasn't around at that time to help me, because she said she knew there was so much going on for me, and she wasn't able to help me because of her health and whatever. And that was such a most incredible, moving experience that I had. It was one of the last things she said to me. Wadi was there when in fact, she wasn't there, that Wadi wasn't there when Daddy said that to me. But Gayatri and Wadi went to see Daddy afterwards, a few hours later. And she was telling them that, are you helping Manda? Because I can't help her. And that was such an amazing thing. But I want to share something else before I answer your question. It was something emerged as a result of last night. I loved what Mohini Didi as well as Asha Didi had to say about yagya, very practical. But when I think about the yagya, two things come to my mind. One is as it's as if I can almost be transported back to Sakar Baba's days and that small Madhuban and this intimate feeling of a small group of them being together. So it's almost as if my mind travels to that. But the second thing that emerges as a result of that is that if I had to give definition to the yagya, for me, the definition would be a vessel of purity. This is a very abstract thing in one sense, but actually everything that Baba is showing to us and revealing to us and is guiding towards is this vessel of purity. This vessel of purity is also the vessel of truth. And in that, and this image that whenever you throw something into the fire, it gets transformed into something completely different. And so whether yesterday this whole thing about mind, body, wealth, all of that being sacrificed in the yagya, it's sacrificed in the yagya for it to be transformed and returned to me in its most perfect and pure state of being. So as I said, it's a bit abstract in one sense, but it's a very powerful image that I like very much. So to come to your question about belonging, I remember when I started, actually I met Didi Mohini when I hadn't decided to be in Gyan. I had done the meditation course in 1979 when my mother came into Gyan, and there are lots of Gujarati mothers here. You know how it is when mothers do something, the children have to do it.
How many Gujarati mothers here? Let's just
Probably
see.
there's a few.
All right, that's significant.
So when the mothers do something and it works for them, then children have to do it. So we were all forced, in a sense, to have the meditation course. It was a Sunday afternoon. Someone used to come to our house, and we were 4 siblings, and my dad would do the meditation course. But anyway, at that time, I said, this is not for me. But during that time, or a period after that, I met Didi Mohini, I met Daddy Janki, and it took a couple of years before I kind of said, okay, this is what I want to experiment with. So actually from the moment I started to go to class, which was occasional to begin with, and then it became every day, but I was no rules applied, I remember, to me, because my life was very much like a BK life before Gyan. So I went to Madhuban 3 months after I had started to go to class. And I was surprised. Sister Jayanti gave me permission. Dadi was already in Madhuban. So it was my first time in Madhuban. I have to say still, I hadn't decided that I wanted to be a BK yet. I was going to just see what it's all about, because it was a time when double foreigners used to go to Madhuban in December and January. It was the winter period, and double foreigners went to Madhuban at that time. So people were coming back and sharing these incredible experiences of meeting Avyak Bap Dada, being in Madhuban, and I had the thought, I want to see that. So that's what made me go to Madhuban the first time I went. And when I arrived in Madhuban, it was a small group of double foreigners, and the 3 dadis, Didi Mohini, Dadi Kumarka, and Dadi Janki, they had just come from somewhere, or 2 of them had come from somewhere, and it was in History Hall that they sat in the front. And all those of us who had come were asked to, in the end, go and meet them with Drishti and receive something. I think it was something from each one of them. And I remember very clearly going in front of the three of them. Last one was Didi Mohini. As I went in front of them, my heart just started to melt. I was 21, innocent, naive, didn't know anything about anything, but yet my heart started to melt. And it was almost as if I was becoming this heap of...
So your head may not have known anything,
Yeah,
but
my
your
head
heart
may-
knew.
And then thirdly, last one that I went to was Didi. And all I could do was just sob and sob and sob. I was crying so much. Didi took out her handkerchief and handed me her handkerchief. And I wiped my eyes, would just come back, and the hanky was dark of dust and probably all the gunk that was in my eyes. And somehow I took the hanky and then wiped my face and my eyes and everything, and I handed it back to her in my innocence. But it was that moment that actually made me feel like these were my people. Arriving in Madhuban Nivasis, there was complete embracing of me and me of them, as if I had known these people all my life. And Madhuban was such a familiar place that...
Just check in. Anyone else have that feeling when you met these daddies? I know these souls, these are my people. Anyone else? Yeah,
it's
there's
quite a
a
few
vibration or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just that in that first Madhuban, I'd gone, I even remember as on my way to Madhuban, I'm asking, what is this soul consciousness? I don't get it. I'm not able to do it. And because my image idea was at this point of light at the center of the forehead, and I couldn't do it. I remember Sudesh Didi sitting me down at the dining table, and I told her this. So she's trying to take me into a meditation, and she used to kind of go off as she does meditation. She went off, and I'm going on the table because nothing happened for me. And I'm asking the same question. But as soon as I stepped foot in Madhuban, it was as if I knew what soul consciousness was. It wasn't just this point of light at the center of the forehead, but it was this incredible love, this incredible acceptance, this incredible belonging that I'd always known these people and I'd been there before, gave me the experience of soul consciousness. And that has not changed for me since, actually. So I don't try to do these rigid or these, what's the word I'm looking for? These practices that...
You don't write, I am a soul 108 times?
Yeah, right. That doesn't mean anything to me. It's me really experiencing the qualities of the soul. One in January, and my heart would just be completely transported to another time and another era, listening about Sakar Baba. I asked that also about that. And who am I to say that I have? But I do feel as if there is nothing else. And since then, over the last 43 years, there have been things that have happened, but my sense of being part of this yagya and this family has never left me, not even by mistake for a moment.
So you've always felt like you belonged from the very moment. Yeah. So are you going to be able to understand it when someone says, sometimes I feel like I don't belong, like I'm being overlooked or left out or excluded? Can you connect with that feeling?
Yes, I can connect.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I think what's also has been my practice is also to be able to see things from other people's perspective. And so when people do feel that, I'm also aware that what am I doing that might make people feel that way? Because, our prejudices, our bias, our cultures can make people feel alienated. And so I'm very aware of being very neutral, or, whether it's, I remember being when I first went to Oxford, for instance, and And we were more non-Indians there than Indians. And just because of language reasons, Dadi would say to me, I'm meeting such and such a group and all the Hindi brothers and sisters can come. I said, no, Dadi, that's not going to happen. Because here we are both and everybody is doing the same thing. And so I don't think it's a good idea for you to invite just the Hindi speakers to come and be with you. We can come, but we have to make it open to everyone so that if they choose to come, there'd be translation for them. So I'm very aware this sensitivity that can be there. And I think that in Oxford, I could genuinely say that we've paid attention to that, but it's been natural over the years where we don't have that kind of distinction. Now we have more Bharatvasis coming in the kitchen, so a little bit of this kind of, okay, there's more Indian food or this or that happens. But actually,
so there's that part. There's the Western versus Indian, and if people start talking in Hindi and you don't understand, you can feel a little outsider. But what about when you get an invitation and someone else doesn't get that invitation? Are you aware that you got into a special room or meeting or group or? I don't mean to be putting you on the spot, but that happens, right? To people. I mean, you think you're doing a good job of whatever, and then you find out that there's a meeting or a project or a something, and you didn't get the invitation. Now, you're most likely to have gotten the invitation. Yes. So do you notice if someone is standing there feeling overlooked?
I can tell you a story about that.
Tell me a story about that.
I think it was, I had already had my Madhuban turn 1 year. And then Dadi invited me to Madhuban. So this would be my second trip, perhaps in the course of 3 months or something like that. Dadi invited me to go to Madhuban because there was some celebration of those who are in Gyan for more than 20 years or something like that. And of course, I was very happy and I was going. I remember so clearly, I went to Baba's room to take leave. And this one particular sister came and she really attacked me. She said, it's all right for you. You're being invited to go and we get left behind. And what about us? And it was really funny, but I didn't react at all. But I remember saying to her, you too could come if you wanted to. So I'm going now, but you're welcome to come in a few days' time, I'm sure. Somehow I felt that she felt she was being left out. So I didn't mind. Literally, it was an attack, verbal attack, and almost a verbal abuse, if you like. But I didn't mind it, but I could understand that situation. And for me, I tried, like recently something happened. I think Mohini Didi said, let's have a group of retreat or something. And I was very aware that if we have something like that, it has to be open to everyone. It can't be an exclusive group. If I'm part of the planning, then I will make sure that it's never just an exclusive thing. I'm aware of how others might perceive it.
That's nice. That's a nice quality of Mandas, isn't it? Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, second question. You accepted trusteeship of Global Retreat Center when you were quite young. Right? How old were you?
I was 32.
32.
33
to take on Global Retreat Center. And Dadi Janki stayed very close to you as you learned how to manage such a big responsibility. Can you share a story about how Dadi supported and guided you as you stepped into that role? Now that was 30 whatever years ago.
30.
What do you do now to support those who come to serve at GRC? And how do you give them the feeling of being a part of the yagya? So 3 questions, right?
Yeah,
Dadi?
3 questions.
And then how do you support those who come and serve? And how do you give them the feeling of being a part of the yagya?
So just briefly, my journey to going into GRC was quite an interesting one, in the sense that part of the team that oversaw the construction of Global Cooperation House. And then I was there for those first 2 years of setting up and settling and everything else. And I got to a point where I was feeling really, it's time for a change for me. It's time for me to do something else. And I felt a calling to do something else. I didn't know what it was. And I was going through a phase where I was really unhappy. And I was unhappy because of that, because I felt bored, if you like. And I was aware of this. And Dadi noticed that, and she was not happy with me, that I was not happy. So I remember even going through that process of thinking, I'm not happy, Dadi's not happy with me. But if I'm not happy, and I'm not happy because that is not happy with me, then this is going to be a double whammy, and I can't take that on. I can take on the fact that I'm not happy. And so during that period, GRC came up, and I had this profound feeling that that was my next destination, in a sense, my next field of service. For whatever reason, it was feel like I'd been there and I'd done it, and I could do it. I had that feeling. So once Dadi said to me, okay, you're going there. And then I think somebody else piped up and they thought that they should be going there. So there was a little bit of this thing going on. Other people wanted the opportunity. So Dadi said, no, you're not going now. Because she saw that people were kind of... Then another time she said to me, you're going there. And then something else happened. I think I was working with Ratanbai. And he said to me, no, Manda can't be free from what she's doing. So that didn't happen. The third time then it happened. And she said, Daddy took me to Russia because I was not happy. Was still in that non-happy phase. She took me to Russia. And on the way...
He took her pouting little friend to Russia.
That's right.
Let's cheer her up.
Yeah. Right. So on the way back, she said to me, don't you know, like this, I'm wagging my finger, but you know her finger too. Don't you know that I know what you are going to do? And I stopped and I said, yes, I do. That's it. My thoughts stopped, everything stopped, and I could completely trust.
But you also felt the pull.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I did
so
feel
she
the pull.
knew, you felt the pull, so...
Well, I don't know if she knew the pull. I think it was being interpreted as desire. By other people, it was being interpreted as desire and expectation or whatever else you might want to call it. For other people, it was that, who am I? Why should I think that it's my, they don't get inside my head.
So let me ask a question. So when you said, yes, I understand that's what's going on in this moment, were you aware that there were people around you who may not have good wishes for you in that moment?
Yes, I was.
And how did you manage that?
I decided to ignore it, because if I take notice of that, then actually the vibes are already there, and I give power to those vibes because they're coming, then I'm increasing the effect of those. Okay. So I decided not to think about that and move on. But anyway, came back from Russia, and literally the next day she called me in and she said to Ratanbai, listen here, exactly, like, sun lo. Manda is not going to work with you forever. She was going to go to Oxford. So you either let her go now or you let her go at some point. So anyway, lots of other things happened, and it happened. And Daddy said to me, you're coming for 1 week. So literally I went for 1 week with one little suitcase. And I had no expectation, nothing. But that week never ended. And I basically stayed on. But the thing was,
what I want to ask, anyone else ever had this experience? You're going for a week or a month or whatever, and you never leave? I think Wadi went to Florida for a month, and that was how many years ago? 42 years ago. So be careful if someone invites you to go for a week, right?
Yeah. But I wanted to say this thing about support and guidance. Dadi was always there to guide, to advise, to say how something could be, how something shouldn't be. She always gave the example of Madhuban. But two other things I want to tell you. It's not that she was just giving me a power or position or authority or anything. She never did that, never. 1 year, well, a few months after we were there, she said to all the residents, okay, anybody who wants to speak to me, come and speak to me. You don't have to have Manda translate for you if you don't want to. So, but notice the psychology of this, of what she's doing. She's giving everyone permission to be who they are and what they are, what they feel, and I shouldn't be a hindrance to that. So That's one thing, which I feel is a real guidance.
And did you catch what was going on when she did that?
Oh,
That she was
absolutely.
reassuring?
I absolutely caught what was going on. What she was trying to do is not give me that power and not let other people see that I can be, you know, they are in any way, I'm in their way in any way.
But also to reassure them.
Yes.
But also she stood 100% behind you.
Yes.
And so this was their chance.
And she's doing it in front of me. Somebody has something to say or stop me from doing something, mine, but don't do it behind my back. And Daddy never did anything. Learned that from her, actually. And so often people are afraid to say what they think and feel in front of the person, but she never did. But another time she did, it was my birthday. And we were sitting in our little dining room downstairs in Tiantoli. And she said, okay, everybody say one negative thing about Manda. Yeah, happy birthday. But she said, everybody can say one thing about Manda that, I mean, doesn't work or is, you know, she put it in a better way, but that's what she was essentially asking. So again, that's quite something, actually, and it's in front of me. And I actually didn't mind, but I think I didn't mind because she was there. If she wasn't there and it happened, it might affect me.
Now let's think about this for a minute. As a method, I don't think she used the word negative.
Well, not negative or one thing she could improve upon. I don't know, something like that.
All right.
But it wasn't telequality. It was definitely not that.
So what was she doing with that?
But I think
what was she doing with that? Because actually, I think it was a gesture of support.
Yeah,
In other words, I'm here. This is
Yes.
my pick to run this place. She'll clean up anything that she needs to clean up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
while I'm here with her, let her know what you'd like her to clean
Yeah,
up, right? It was kind
absolutely,
of that.
absolutely.
And you weren't upset?
No, I wasn't
Was it
upset.
because it was your birthday?
No, I wasn't upset because she was there.
Because she was there.
If she wasn't there and it was happening, then I would be upset,
Right.
probably.
Yes, Wadi?
In an indirect way, maybe what Daddy was doing too is it were that case of tell Manda something she can improve on. What you're really saying is, Manda, this is how I really see you.
That's nice, Wadi. Wadi said that what you'd really be saying is, Manda, this is how I really see you. When you're performing this job at the highest level, you'll be doing this, that kind of a thing. It's interesting for those of you who have responsibility for someone who is running something. You know, you're the responsible party and they're running something on your behalf. It's standing beside her while you ask
Yes,
them what they
absolutely.
needed from her
Yeah.
is what matters, right?
Yes.
She stood right beside
Yes,
her as her support. That's nice,
absolutely.
Manda.
Yeah. And you know, she was the one person who always made me feel like she's seeing beyond the person that I call myself.
That's nice, yeah. She saw who you were becoming, who you
well,
would be, could be.
yeah, I never felt like my negative tendencies or defects or whatever were ever in her eyes, ever. And I think she did that for everyone. But for me, it was such a feeling of being seen was such a powerful thing, always. And actually, I have to say, it wasn't always like that. It got to that point after a few years of being in Gyan, where she was figuring me out and she was kind of deciding of what I was like and who I was or whatever. But she never, my negative qualities that I know now, she never showed them to me.
That's very nice. And this idea of having people feel that you see them, that they are
That's
seeing,
the feeling
right?
of belonging. If I could say, that's the one thing where anybody that comes in front of you, they feel like they belong. But I also want to add that because Dadi was there, I actually didn't do the spiritual supporting that. Well, I didn't need to do it at that time. I didn't do the spiritual supporting. Dadi did the spiritual supporting. we did the work together. And I would sometimes say to her, I was so busy and doing so much and I want to do less. And she'd say to me, don't worry about that. You carry on doing what you're doing, and I'll have yoga for you. So it's quite flattering. It's quite flattering to hear that, but you know very well that that doesn't work. And you get to a point where you realize, actually, you do have to do your own work. And I feel that for those first 25 years of GRC, we did a lot. We did incredible things, amazing things, all of us, not just myself, but me also, did a lot with everyone. And I feel that I didn't do enough internal work that I should have done or could have done at the same time.
I want to also, so I remember, I also have very special feelings for GRC because that was, a lot of my spiritual growth took place there with Didi. And I know she used to sit in that little chair in the entryway and call all the residents and give them totally and blessings and love and check in with them, etc. And so she probably knew that in your early days, you weren't going to be able not only to spiritually support yourself, but you weren't going to be able to spiritually sustain
probably.
25 residents. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? I'm sure, ask Caliban how easy it is. Not only the people serving there, living there, but the people who come through to serve and the people who come for experience. So Didi was, she was standing right behind you doing that. But as she was doing that, you must have been watching what she was doing. So, because someday you were going to have to do it yourself.
Yes, Didi, I think she did the same thing with everyone, as I'm just describing, this sense of deep love and acceptance of each one and appreciation. She had incredible appreciation. You did so much because you saw the glee in Dadi's eyes as she saw what you were doing, what was happening in terms of service. You really see this. She wouldn't say, oh, how amazing you all are and what a great job you're doing in direct way. But in her eyes, this glee of when you did something new, when you did something different, it was just, very pleasing, if you like. But the other thing I want to actually add about that is that such a big place, such huge expense of running the place, but Didi never asked why you were spending money on this. If you were doing a project, she never said, how much are you spending on this job, on this project, on this service, which was incredible tribute to her trust in us. And this also made you feel so responsible and made you feel that you wanted to comply with that trust that she placed.
You want to be as beautiful as she sees you as
Absolutely,
beautiful,
yeah,
right?
really.
This last point you made about seeing what's beautiful in you, I think this could be one definition of a senior. Because you think about Asha Didi, and you think about Mohini Didi, and you think about the Didis, and you think about, that's when you get spiritually mature, your vision changes, right? You're seeing the soul and their aspirations and what they're trying to do and when they succeed. And because we always have these big conversations, well, what's a senior? Why do we call somebody a senior? I think it's vision. I think it's that elevated, that ability to do just what Manda said Didi did for her, for them.
Yeah, and you asked me, what am I doing now? I'm work in progress for that, I would say, simply because I feel it is necessary for me to give spiritual time to my own self right now. But I actually chose, after GRC closed and restarted again, that I didn't want to be the sole person alone. And I felt that there should be a team of us that manages the work of GRC, so I could also have a bit more time. And I don't do 3 people's work that I did before. That I realized how much I was caught up in the doing. So the spiritual thing even when you have a spiritual contribution to make, you need time. You need time to prepare your stay.
She used to say that her spiritual friend was Didi because they shared Gyan together. and that she continued to look for friends like that. So, to create and sustain spiritual friendship, what matters most?
I feel it matters to ensure that the people that I make friendship with are people that are on the same spiritual path as myself, who have equal commitment to Baba, to Srimat, and to have that trust. Because I know that I don't want my spiritual life to be compromised. It's very easy to feel comfortable in certain people because, you know, they give me a little bit of freeway or a little space that I want. But I feel I would want to make friends with people who are absolutely committed to being to Srimat and to also comprehending and understanding the absolute truth of Gyan and Baba. And because I don't want my life to be compromised, my friends will pick me up and will say, hang on a minute, this is not right. Do you think you can look at it like this as opposed to like that, instead of going along with me because it just makes me feel good? So that kind of spiritual equality, this bar for me is an important thing.
That's nice. Hold you accountable a little bit. Hold you to your best self.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one. Because spiritual friendship is what we need, right? Do you notice as you came along your spiritual life, were you less drawn to other people and more drawn to people in the yagya and family, you know,
Oh,
your
absolutely.
spiritual family?
Absolutely.
Because that you had more in common with them.
yeah.
That makes sense.
And as I said, you know, when things have been tough and times have been difficult for my own self more than anything else, there is no wavering in terms of where your loyalties lie or where your commitment lies. That doesn't change. That doesn't shift.
And the yagya has provided that support for you.
Yeah.
I remember when you got COVID, you were very, very sick.
Yeah.
But you were, in
You were the
lab.
one calling me every day. How are you?
That's
Manda?
right.
You
Send me another photo. All right. So Dadi used to talk about King Janak. Now we're on the subject of
But
trusteeship.
Judy, I just want to say we're 11:15.
Yeah, but we
a
started
little
late.
bit
What
late.
time do you, where's Kanu? What time do you want us to
We're supposed to
finish?
start groups at 11 because we're supposed to start at 10:30.
Really? 5 more minutes? Well, let me see what question I want to ask you then, if we only have 5 more minutes.
Everybody says you can go on and study.
But you're supposed to talk in small groups. so
Yes.
Let's
And
be
nice
accurate
questions.
here. Okay, so in terms of trusteeship or responsibility, one thing is how accurately you play your part, right? Do what you're supposed to do. But there's another aspect of this that has to do with how we conduct ourselves. Dadi used to say, it's not my honor. Like if Hansa wanted to let her sleep through Amrit Vela, she would say, no, it's not my honor to sleep through Amrit Vela, or it's not my honor to argue with someone or be in conflict, right? So what are our responsibilities to the yagya in regard to the consciousness we hold and the way we behave? I know this is a trick question.
It's a trick question.
But you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying one thing is how I do my task, and a lot of us pride ourselves. If I conduct meeting every Tuesday night, did that meeting go well, right? Or if I put people in rooms, are they all in rooms? That's one thing. It's good. But what about if I am short-tempered, if I am judgmental, if I am, those tendencies we all have, how does that connect with trusteeship? Or is it a little bit irrelevant to trusteeship?
Okay, I'm not sure if this directly answers the question, but I think it does indirectly. Some of us, and you and I have had this conversation, some of us have an over-exaggerated relationship with responsibility. So what we tend to do, that's when we become judgmental, we become controlling. I'm right, everybody else is wrong. It should be done the way I say it should be done. And it's under the guise of responsibility. It's under the guise of being accurate. It's under the guise of being done really well. And realizing this is a very powerful thing. At the end of the day, ultimately, I cannot control anything. I can only do the best I can. And for me, this is very much work in progress because I have an over-exaggerated a relationship with responsibility. And that's probably what exhausted me more than anything else, I think, over the years, because you want everything done in a certain way. And there gets to a point where people also will defy that and will say, you know what, do it yourself then. Which is what Daddy used to say. You know, Daddy's also given that example. She was somewhere and somebody was rolling puris and the puri was not round. And Daddy said, can you do it round? And she said, oh, do it yourself then, and went off. So it's a bit like that, you know. For us, it's not puri rolling, it might be something else. And so I feel, though, that that's the cleaning that has to happen.
And also, this goes back to what you were saying before about our ability to see what's beautiful in everyone, right? If I'm so convinced that this has to be done accurately, or that everyone has to make sure to get this done, I won't see the beauty in the other one,
And
right?
also, then what happens is that my relationship with everyone become task-based.
Very
And
nice.
when the relationships are task-based, then the love goes out the window. If somebody doesn't do it in the way that I like it, the way I think it should be done, then actually there's the energy between
Right.
me and someone else is not right.
Very nice. Well, we could go on and on, but we've gotten instructions not to do that. So here's the question for you. Can I give you some questions? You don't need to write them down, right? Kanu, did you print them? So you don't have to write these down. I'm going to read them slowly. Now, how much time do we have for this?
We said 45 minutes, but we are running late because we started late.
Okay, so go quickly to your tables, and you have 45 minutes, but don't go yet. So why don't you go into groups of 4? Why don't you go into 4s? Because otherwise you're going to have a shallow conversation, and we don't want you to do that. So find 3 other people, not necessarily the people you know the best, and take the time to answer 3 questions together, okay? And if it's 1:05 when you're done, that's okay. Asha won't mind. All right, number 1. Think about the early
Mary wants to
days.
say something.
Yeah,
12:05. Yeah.
sorry, 12:05. 4 per group, only 4.
Okay, I think
But do
Judy
you
may
wanna
not
add
know
a
those
5th?
instructions. Judy, you may not know that instruction.
What's the instruction?
Kalaban, could you give those
I
instructions?
saw the WhatsApp. You want a person to join each group? Is
Yeah.
that the one? Okay. I mean, my thought is, though, if there's 8 of you, you won't even get through the first question, right? And it's more important that you have a meaningful conversation. It can be 5. It can be, right? But just don't do a big group, because then you won't finish. Is that all right, Kala? You sure? Huh? You're going to get a set of questions, but I'm
No,
going to...
he's asking, can he ask questions to me?
They told me, no, you can't ask questions, no matter how good your questions are. You have to ask her at lunch. Yeah, how many prefer a Hindi group? Come on, more courage here. How many prefer a Hindi group? Okay, so maybe there's two groups or 3? You could go over on that side, the Hindi group. Yeah, you can, the tables over by the side. Okay, question 1. Think about the early days of your Brahmin life when you felt seen and heard and welcomed. What or who gave you this feeling, share a story of an experience that made you feel like you belonged. And part B, what do you feel you do through your presence, your inner stage, or actions you take to create these feelings in others? And what more might you do? Question 2, that's probably the whole 45 minutes right there. Question 2, Dadi Janki spoke about the importance of spiritual friendship. Here is something she shared. Spiritual support and company doesn't happen enough. This is very important. One needs strength to give vibrations and love, and then there won't be any disheartenment. This is the real service, the service of friendship, spiritual love. It is very necessary and essential to have this friendship. Where in your Brahmin life do you find spiritual friendship? What do you do to offer spiritual friendship to others? Final question. We are trustees of this yagya, those who are responsible for keeping the flame alive. What do you feel most proud of in your yagya seva? Share one story of yagya seva that made you most proud and happy. Why do you think this particular experience is coming to your mind? So if you would find 3 other people, or 4, 5 is okay, and you make sure everyone gets a chance to talk, even if you don't get through all the questions. And you don't have to do the questions in this order. You could start with Yagya Seva and go the other way. All right? Do you understand? Okay? Okay, Kanu? Okay, Kala?
And come back at
Yeah?
12.
And you should be back here at 12:05. Anywhere, as long as you're back at 12:05. You could go outside.
So just a thing that what Sister Mary was saying is that if some of the main instruments that are here from the centers could be divided in between the groups, not clumping together as one group.
So if they offer themselves to join your group
So
and you
if
become a
you
5.
kind of divide yourselves so that every group has one kind of senior instrument. Okay. And the gray chairs are, some gray chairs are already set, but I think you'll have to work with the other chairs.